Hi guys, it's me, Kathy, Mrs. HANDYRU. I hope you guys are doing really well, and I do mean it. I hope you're doing well. I know it's kind of stressful and weird knowing that weird things could happen or look like they're happening, but we're going to be okay. And just know you just take it one day at a time, right? That's all you can do. And say your prayers and talk to God. You know, you don't have to be formal about talking to God. You just talk. Just say, hey, I need some help with, whatever. And if you listen, you'll probably get some guidance. And I'm going to say they, because there's more than one, they'll talk to you, right? So I think, at the end of the last video, I told you that I would do a decode on SG ANON, who everybody's been talking about. So the one I worked on was, I think it was number 15, and he's only on Rumble. So look on Rumble, and I'm going to try to switch my videos to Rumble. Not switch, but upload them to both places, as I haven't done that before. It's really not that easy to do both. At least it wasn't in the past, but I guess in the recent times, maybe it's been the last month or two, it's much easier to do it. And what Rumble will do is take all of my YouTube videos and not take them away from YouTube, but they'll put them on Rumble as well. So when I found that out, I was all excited. I still haven't figured out how to do it, but it's nice because I won't have to do one at a time. Okay, so SG ANON on Rumble, and in audio, he calls them audio files, which I've got in here somewhere. What audio file is? And let's see. In audio file 14, he started talking about decoding President Trump using gematria, and that's Bible decoding, and using his words and phrases, and especially when he repeats things, which is what we've been working on for quite a while. So basically, when he was talking about all that in the 14th episode that he has, he's telling you to decode him too, because he repeats certain things and he says certain words more than one time. So it's really funny. I mean, you're going to like who he is. I mean, take a wild guess. I bet you'll guess. So, okay, SG ANON is 70, and that's A equals 1 through Z equals 26. And I used matrix.org. Enter, like what I did with this one. I entered SG ANON in the search bar on matrix.org, and it comes up with 3 choices, and it's Jewish, English, and simple. And when you get your choices, you hit simple, and it comes up with a number value. I always forget to mention that it's a number value. So SG ANON is 70, and you don't have to do the figuring. Well, I mean, you can, but I look at it as each day that you look at these things could be something different that hits you. So I know some things by heart, but really not very many. I tend to look up stuff. And then anyway, so you get use simple gematria. That's the one I always use anyway. And listen to what God tells you is important for that day or that moment in time. And you can write it down, put it in your phone, write it down like I do. And after a while, you start to get a story. And the story can change, obviously, but, more things will start jumping out at you that are important. And I definitely have stories. I have stories, boy, let me tell you. Okay, SG ANON, 70. It equals Yahweh, and the spelling is YAHWEH, because there's lots of ways of spelling this. Hidden God, Adam and Eve. I don't know what's wrong with me. Adam and Eve, cold feet, suicide, cursed. Now, why did I say that? Why did that jump out? That's because in the Garden of Eden, they killed themselves and they came back. God breathed life into them. Adam and Eve. And I think there was more than one Adam and Eve because they were twins, Jackie and Diana and President Kennedy, who's John, and Junior. Twins. So, yeah. Anyway. So what else does SG Anon equal at 70? I wonder. It equals I am John. Yep, that's who he is. And he can sound like anybody he wants to. So if you say, well, that doesn't sound enough like John wouldn't talk like that. Believe me, these people can sound like anything, anybody they want to. They can. So there's no question in my mind. Let's see. It equals Simon. And I've been telling you about Simon Stanhope on bite-sized audio. That matches SG Anon. And that's Simon, well, not Simon. Simon is the one who's supposed to be reading these audiobooks that are all like Victorian mysteries or ghost stories, that kind of thing. So, yeah, I think what it is it's Junior and President Kennedy taking turns, just from decodes that I've done. But if I'm wrong about President Kennedy, it's at least Junior. So, let's see. What else does this match? Oh, cold feet, suicide, cursed. After they pay, their debt or justice happens, they rise again at, Revelation 11 that I'm always talking about, the beast and everything. But it equals remedy. Remember I was saying that after the beast event, I think we might be all healed. Maybe our DNA gets moving like it's supposed to, the junk DNA, and we could heal ourselves, So remedy matches SG Anon and Yahweh, and new man equals. And a good man equals 70. And that's important because JFKJR, JFK Jr., would say, this is a famous quote of his, you can look it up, I'd rather be known as a good man than a great man. Because people would say, oh, you could become a great man like your father was. And he'd say, I'd rather be known as a good man. Well, a good man matches. So SG Anon's channel it is called Q News Patriot. And Q News Patriot is 177. And there's a 77 in there, which is Christ. 177 equals a letter to you. And that just cracked me up because that's what's happening. All these letters and words, right? They are all numbers. And they're all important, So all these things are numbers. God is numbers. I think God speaks in numbers. Well, I know that because that's what we're decoding into numbers. Make America Great Again matches Q News Patriot. Wake up, sleepyhead, and that's at the cross, the poison reference, because they took that herb or concoction that made him look dead. He wasn't dead. I think it was JFK, not Junior. About to get deadly, and hidden witness. And like I said before, I think there's 4 of them, not 2. So that's going to be important. And it's about to break. So, and from what Juan said that we were talking about in the last video, things will happen this month. Unless he's pulling our leg again. I don't know. He said October's going to be horrible, last year. But, it's like if it happens now, it would be like a 1-year delta. You can look at it that way. And another match to Q News Patriot is great. It's You're a Riot, Alice. And that's a quote from Jackie Gleason and from the Honeymooners. And I'm not sure if all of you know what the Honeymooners was, but it's a great, it was only on for a year, but Jackie Gleason was like Ralph Cramden. He was a bus driver, and he'd always say to Alice, to the moon, right to the moon, and he'd do this motion, and she'd say something sarcastic, and he'd be like, right to the moon, and he'd always say, "You're a riot, Alice." So, and Jackie Gleason is in a Clouseau video, one of the new ones, which we already talked about too, but he's there. He's right behind President Trump. He's all dark and tan looking, or it's makeup, and it's very obvious it's Jackie Gleason, and he's younger, so that's pretty neat. So just the SG in SG Anon is 26, and that equals God. And of course, you reverse the letters, you have dog. So that's important for in a second. And hide, game, lie, and JCID, like Jesus Christ, ID. And so dog and bear. All these are 26. Well, yeah, I'll tell you that. So Junior is Bushcraft Bear, and he's on. He has his own channel, and he does the stuff from La Palma. And let's see, cub matches. So you can look at that as like a bear cub, right? So like Junior. And another couple things that match is, let's see, be doe. You know how people talk sometimes and they'll go, be this, be that, with just the letter B? Well, be doe. And it's like John Doe, right? John Doe. Okay, let's see. What else matches? Card, like trump card. Flag, like the false flappy thing. False thing on a flagpole. And he had, that matches. And Ben, BEEN, that matches. Bad Adam matches. So, okay. So all these things you could say he had, that's one, been, and then I put in playing, a game, that's mine, but game, as Mad Dog and Bushcraft Bear. He called in to Field McConnell's Able Danger show 3 years ago? I can't remember how long, but it's been a while. It's not on anymore. Hopefully Field is okay. And I'm hoping that was still all just a false thing to get him out of the picture and safe, because sounded like people were after him, Field McConnell. And supposedly he went to jail. I wrote to him in jail a couple of times, but I wonder after the fact, after all that was he really in jail, or did the White Hats move him out like they do with all these other well-known people? Give a new ID, bring them to a new place. So I'm hoping that's what happened with Field. So yeah, he used to call his Juan used to call his Mad Dog. He was supposed to be like a retired Vietnam. Well, he was a Vietnam vet, and he was in the Air Force, and he was a pilot. So he was called Mad Dog. So all that, like dog, all that matches. It's really funny. I don't know. I like all this stuff. I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay. So there was a really long title of audio file 15 from SG Anon. It had, three topics in the title. So let's see. Goodbye McDonald's was one, and it's 158. And it's, let's see, Wheels and Walls. And President Trump says that quite often in rallies, at least he did for a while. I can't even remember what he said about it. But anyway, he says wheels and walls. But I think the important thing that matches, really, that President Trump is probably pointing us towards is release the Kraken, beginning of the end, like it's the beginning, it's going to happen anytime. Perfect storm, tip of the spear, and please forgive me. And that's because of what happened at the Garden of Eden and the cross. Russian sub goes missing was the second part of his title. And Russian was in quotation marks. Russian is 101, and it equals voice of God, because that's what we're hearing. Russian sub equals 143, and that's the real Jesus. And 143 is also Christ twin, because there's the two guys, John and John. And then goes missing. That was the last part. Russian sub goes missing. So goes missing is 136, and that's equals 46. And 46, the number 46 is Juan. It equals Mother Mary, dark night, and that's with a K. We already talked about that in when I was going on and on about the eclipse last video. And liars condemned, my mission, and joy to heal all. Isn't that beautiful? Joy to heal all. So I think it is a joy for them to be the hidden witnesses, or supposedly the two witnesses, but I really think there's four. And it is a joy for them to heal all. And I think, like I said, I think it's the DNA getting kicked into gear, the half that seems to be junk, and we're probably going to be able to heal ourselves. So he also had in the last part of this title from number 15 was 45, just the numbers, not the words, 45 comms highlighting W, HW, Clinton. So it's like George W. Bush and H.W. Bush. You probably knew that. Clinton, Obama, all of them. So instead of breaking all that down, I decided to take all the capitals from that, which is another way to do it. You can do these things all kinds of ways. So it's CHW, HWCO, and that's 83, and it's Jonathan, and it's Catherine, and cowboy, and Juan dresses like a cowboy, with his boots and his hat. Black sun. We went into all that about the eclipse last video. Okay. So 15th audio file is, I'm sorry. I didn't decode that. So anyway, that was my title for the page. So let's see. He calls them audio files. Here's where I decoded audio file, and it's 100. That's what audio file equals. It equals I am Christ. I mean, you can't get more obvious. It equals JFKJR is Q. It's so obvious. Hiroshima, right? I mean, I've heard people say Hiroshima too, so I don't know what way you're supposed to say it. Hiroshima, where one of the bombs was dropped in Japan in World War II. And bioweapon. So that matches 100 audio file. It's all a lie. Okay, so the bioweapon, Hiroshima, and him saying that he's SG ANON, it's all a lie, right? So he emphasized in the beginning of this number 15 that I'm working on, he emphasized near the beginning, I have so much to say to you. And so much is 79. And yet again, we're coming back to another name of God, Yeshua, Yeshua. And let's see, prepare, seconds, weeping, basement, the flash. In the end, fear not, laughing. Don't you like how I put that together? I thought that was pretty good. And let's see. What else can I tell you? Oh, and the codes, like the nuclear codes that won't really be happening, But the codes, Mr. C on Original Mark C that I've told you is junior too. Mr. Michael C. Cottrell, Cottrell, he is junior, definitely. And he talks about the codes all the time. And so when the GCR, RV, whatever happens, he's the one that puts the codes in. So for the gold treaty to start and all that, but he's double talking, and he's talking about nuclear codes. Also, that they're not real, but anyway, and if you do Michael C. Cottrell, it's 159 JFKJR. So that's who Mr. C is. Let's see, he said at 30 seconds. Now, I look at timestamps. I don't do it all the time, but a little bit here I did. So 30 seconds, and if it's on the fives, like 30, 20, 25, something like that, and it seems like an emphasis or it's an odd word especially, or an odd phrase started there, I work on it. Dynamic is 69, and it equals who am I, right? I think we figured it out. It equals false thing on the flagpole, which is coming up, really. And eclipse matches. So dynamic equals eclipse. And we just did this whole thing about how there's going to be an eclipse, maybe a long one, 10 days. I'm not sure. The Ring of Fire eclipse, where you see the outside of the sun, the corona. Checkmate is 69. And then he said tremendous 2 times in a row. And that's 134. It equals solar eclipse. This October matches. Okay. This October matches 134. And then right after that, at 53 seconds, and I know that's not on the fives, but 53 always makes me think of 35 for President Kennedy, the 35th POTUS. So, 53 flipped. Sorry. Things are looking brighter, he said. Right after we got tremendous, which is solar eclipse. And then he said, things are looking brighter. Like, that would be after the eclipse, right? It's getting better. Broad overview. That was at 108, and that's like an 18. So here I am telling you I do things on the fives, but then I also look at things like say it was 107, and it was a phrase that seemed important. I go, oh, I'm going to do that. That's like a 17. Well, this was like an 18, like R. Broad overview, 159. That's John F. Kennedy, Jr. Which makes sense because that's who R is, right? 18. It's John F. Kennedy, Jr., 107, all that. Certainly that was at 135, is 107, and that's Ring of Fire. I've been telling you about this eclipse with the corona and the Ring of Fire, and I really think it's going to happen. And it won't be something scheduled. Not scheduled. Well, it will be scheduled, but it won't be something you can go, oh yeah, there's the eclipse that's coming up. So 107 is also military, earthquake, solar flare, a special joke. And I had forgotten, it should have been a little sooner before I'm mentioning it, but glad to be back with you. And I'm thinking, because he's back. He's back. He's a Christ. There's more than one. Be back is 24, and it equals I am a, like just I, am, and then a. I am a. And then do matches, and we worked on that just a second ago, or video ago, I should say, with, like he's a John Doe, like an unknown person, and if you found a body, and they'd call him a John Doe. If it was a woman, it would be a Jane Doe. And it equals kid, right? I am a kid, and that's like kid by the side of the road. the magazine, and everybody thinks of him as the little 3-year-old kid saluting his dad. And a fake matches. Okay, so a fake. And so you can put it together, two of these matches, IMA and then a fake, right? He says a lot. Now I do too. I don't do it on purpose though. But SG Anon says a lot, and it's usually on a specific timestamp. It's not like just thrown in there. And Juan of Savan does the same thing. And he says and ah, and you know he doesn't have to do that. He can speak perfectly. You know Juan doesn't have to do this. Let's see. So equals 34. It equals D-Day. Yep, it equals D-Day. It equals DJT, Donald John Trump. It equals Apache, like helicopters, and decided, like DJT, decided on the Apaches, like probably when, so planned ahead. It equals 34 equals B Obama, kick, beheaded. I'm just reading them. And it equals Mr. C. See how this all ties together? Mr. C from original Mark Z, talking about the GCR and the RV. And if you're looking for old ones, just look up for ones that Mark puts on it. It says Code Man. You know, like the codes, Code Man. Let's see. He comes on live Friday mornings, Eastern, at 10, sometime after 10 Eastern time in the morning. He said at 32 seconds, I didn't get very far in this decode, honestly. There were so many good things. He said in motion at breakneck pace, and that's time traveling, right? And 32 is Eve, so she's doing all the two Eves. There's two, Jackie and Diana, and you reverse 32 and you get 23. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm having a brain cramp. 23 is W. And remember, one called us W. Let's see. In motion is 109, and that's one of our big numbers that we like. It's 17. Let's see. Diana Spencer, It's Coming, and Bomb Cyclone, and Cyber Attack. Go to the beach. That's like Revelation 11 with the beast and everything will be in the water. At least that's the way I get it. And necessary. All these things are necessary. What else is 109? Oh, this is a good one. Caesar Sayoc. Now that's CESAR SAYOC. And I remember when all that happened and we were working on, is this fake? Is it real? All this stuff. And remember they were pipe, BOMBS, maybe I'll spell it this time. And they were sent to politicians. And, supposedly that happened. It didn't really happen. But that was like all an uproar, right? And they caught this man. I remember his picture too. It was creepy. But they called him Caesar Sayoc. And it's CESAR. It was just weird. And an anagram of Caesar Sayoc is accessory because it was planned. It was a white hat thing. That didn't really happen. They do things like to get people all wound up, What else is 109 for in motion? Yeah, because he said in motion at breakneck pace. Bedminster, his President Trump's golf course in New Jersey. Burberry, that's Melania. I think it was a jacket. I don't think it was a shawl. I think it was a jacket she wore with her comms, clothing comms. And likely it was Jackie doing it because she was usually in the stilettos. When she's in the stilettos, in my opinion, that she's Jackie. and floor frame matches. And that's the name of some art I remember that Melania had installed. It was a sculpture. I wouldn't say it's a sculpture. Well, maybe it is a sculpture. And so the piece was called Floor Frame, and she put it in the rose garden. And so that all matches 109. And let's see. Here I'm going at a minute even. First time or second time listeners. And to me that's like Jesus didn't die the first time, but he's coming back. The Jesus that's going to die is coming back. Well, I think they're all going to die. All four of them are going to die. Let's face it. Yeah. I got to change how I talk about that. Let's see. He was talking, SG Anon was saying the globalist forces around the world went to war with President Trump when he got elected. And basically, he's saying that there's a war, but it's going to be fake, because of all the double talking he's doing. And he said, went to war worldwide. They've been successful at doing this. That means the fake war worldwide, it's going to look like we fail and we lose. The United States loses. But what he's also saying is successful, because we really will be. It's not even a real war, so how can you be successful? But that's what I'm getting. All of the ones that are large and influential. And then he said deep 2 times. And that's 30. And that's Joe. And Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr., right? Oh, I'm going to get into all this next. I didn't even remember I had this in here. Yeah. So deep, he said it 2 times in a row, so that's important, right? And so Joe comes up, and let's see, lied comes up. And because he's not, he's really, he calls himself JFKJR, one of saving, all that. But he was Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr. Now, this is how you figure it out. I hope I make it clear. I know I get really confusing sometimes, and I'm sorry. I am sorry. So, if you look up Joseph Patrick, and you find out what year he was born, he was the older of the Kennedys. They always refer to him that way. So he's supposedly the oldest out of all the kids. If you look at, let's see, look at the year that they have listed as if it's a time. Okay, instead of like 1915 as a year, look at it as a time. So 19 and then 15. So it's like a time on a clock. And that would be on a 24-hour clock, right? So, okay, so if you convert that to regular time, you take, let's see, so 1915, which was a year, right? They said he was born. Convert it, and so 12, you get 12 hours, brings you to noontime. And then you take the rest of it, and you get 7:15. So it's 7:15 p.m. Joseph Patrick was born. So instead of the year 1915, you convert 19 hours, 15 minutes, and it becomes 7:15 p.m. on a 24-hour clock. So that's Joseph Patrick. Then you take the year that they say that John F. Kennedy was born, who was our president. And they say he was born in 1917, so you have 19 hours. You're converting it to hours and minutes. 19 hours, 17 minutes. And then on a 24-hour clock, it would be 7:15. Sorry, I said it wrong. 7:17 p.m. I was looking at the top one. Okay, so President Kennedy and Joseph Patrick are twins, and it's not listed like that, you know? And you know that the good guys, the bad guys, everybody changes all the stuff online. I still think the good guys are in charge of almost everything, so I think that they want us to just figure it out, use our brains. And that's why twins comes up in decoding all the time. Twin flames, twin candle stands, twin everything. That's why you see twin all the time. I'm sure you do, right? If you're using gematrix.org. Okay, so that means Joseph Patrick is the oldest by 2 minutes. And when there's twins, I'm sure triplets, everything, the one that's born first acts like the older one, you know? So there's that. So Joseph Patrick Kennedy Jr., he died in a drone, well, I guess you call it drone. He was in a plane and he and his co-pilot were supposed to jump out with a parachute. It's supposed to parachute out, and then all these huge explosives that were like new, like hundreds of pounds. I'm not sure how many pounds right now were on the plane. And then so they would jump out, and the plane would be flown like kind of like remote control. So another plane was nearby, and then it was going to control Joseph Patrick's plane and fly the explosives into Nazi territory. I said that word, in France. And it exploded too soon. I was just thinking, gosh, I'm always thinking of stuff when I'm recording. Wayne Willott, I think that was the name of the co-pilot. I never even connected that. So when Juan was calling as Wayne Willott, and then he became W after a while, it must be for that name, the co-pilot's name, Wayne Willott. Huh. Interesting. Makes sense, though, doesn't it? Let's see. Turn the page, Kathy, turn the page. So, Joseph Patrick was reborn as John F. Kennedy Jr. So he came back, he's reborn, he had a new life, right? Remember in the Bible, you must be born again. That's what that means to me. That's, I never used to think that till I started working on all this, but that's what I think now. You must be born again. And that's what's happening. So Joseph Patrick was, like I said, I already said it, was reborn as John F. Kennedy Jr. So that means, and he was born to, obviously, John F. Kennedy and Jackie. So really, President Kennedy and JFK Jr. are twin brothers. What do you think? I've figured that for a long time now. So to me, it's really obvious. But maybe it'll take a while for you to chew on it, or maybe you'll just completely think I'm nuts. But whatever. I don't care. We can disagree, right? We can disagree. But that's why I always call JFKJR Jr., because he was a junior as Joseph Patrick, and then he was reborn as JFK Jr., So I just call him Junior. And I don't know what he's going to want to be called. I wonder what he's going to... I don't know. Good question. Let's see. Yeah, and he's the older of the twins. I probably already said that. So... And then at 2:40 minutes and 45 seconds, SG Anon said, since the assassination of President John F. Kennedy, he brought that up. And I've got a whole playlist about that JFK didn't take himself, that wasn't assassinated. He's here, he's alive, And it was a choice. He took himself out of the picture so he could go on and fight evil, right? Literally, physically, boom, let's see. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, and he brought up assassination, and it's another way of looking at what he said in this audio file. Is it could be President Trump too, so it could be a double meaning thing, because I've been saying that President Trump will be likely impeached, arrested, and it's going to look like he's gone, but it won't be real. But it'll get people to depend on God, which we've already talked about, not a person. And the SG-Anon says I put the they in there, have been planning, and then at 255, dry running and testing waters for the destruction and takedown and exposure of this global power structure. So planning and then dry running and testing waters, all about like weather and water and flooding, tsunami, whatever, for the destruction, like it will look like it's all destructed, you know what I mean, gone. And it will be global. It will be a global disaster. It will look awful. And it'll all be faked by the White Hats and the Alliance and all that stuff. See how far I get? I didn't get very far in this, but I guess the point is SG-Anon is JFK Jr. or R Jr. At 3:15, and it's like on the fives, Donald Trump declared war on the CIA, FBI in 2017, traveled the world piecing together the scaffolding internationally to prevent the Kabbalists. And I just did ... Okay, so what I got out of those phrases is, let's see, piecing, like peace, right? Piecing together the scaffolding. So to me, that also means peace, spelled a different way. It will be peace. And let's see, he said two and then two. He said two back to back, T-O. And to me, that's like there's two of them, the John and Jr., John F. Kennedy and Jr. And then he said, piecing together the scaffolding internationally to prevent Kabbalists. And that was kind of like a stutter, but it was on purpose, to prevent the Kabbalists. And scaffolding was built right in front of the White House. I don't even remember when it was. Was it last year or was it 2 years ago? Everything's a blur. For justice, Remember those scaffolding that look like places where things with ropes happen? If you compared that scaffolding to other countries that use it like more often, just think of things with ropes and steps up, And then they had it up for a while, and then it was taken down. And I've seen video where you can see all the people in there and everything. The first go around when I first saw it, I was from too far away. You couldn't really see much of anything. You could just see barely. And then I saw much more, almost like a high definition of it. And it didn't look like a happy place at all. Okay. He mentioned 32 nations, and as I've said many times, 32 is Eve, 2 Eves, and he said that 2 times. And reversed that to W. Want to say even call this W, and when he talks about that, he called for over 17 years. So it's so obvious. Let's see. And he's talking about the cabals, SG-Anon, worked together for hundreds of years, like thousands really, to get to where they got, as far as they got in their dastardly evil plan. But you also can look at work together for hundreds of years, meaning President Trump, John F. Kennedy, All of them, Jackie, Diana, everybody, way more than them. Like, will be like Mike Lindell, General Flynn, all these people have been traveling through incarnations and working together, I'm sure. At 523, they have no place safe to hide anymore. And he's still talking about the cabal, but because it's at a 23 again, you could think of W and Eve, right? And they have no place safe to hide anymore. It's going to come up. The justice is going to happen, and the beast event is going to happen. Revelation 11, and they're going to be gone, and they'll come back. And then at 836, and that's like a 63, which makes me think of President Kennedy, 1963, when he took himself out of the picture. S.G. Anon said, what I would call trans-dimensional warfare. To normies, it doesn't make a lot of sense. We're back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So he's talking about time traveling, another way of looking at that, trans-dimensional. He's talking about literal, what will look like warfare. He's talking about normies not understanding it. And he said back and forth 3 times in a row. It's just another time travel reference. And back and forth is 103, and it equals Jack Kennedy. So that's not surprising. And God's a human. There's a code. Father gods, plural, because there are. Invasion. We're going to see him crossing the border, landed in planes. It's going to look really bad. Let's see. Coincidences. Okay. And then at 9:22, he said inaction. And JFK didn't die for our sins. When I see 22, I always think of President Kennedy because it was 11/22/63. So that's why 22 is important. I mean, there's other reasons, but that's a big one. And so if Jesus didn't die for our sins, but it sure looks like he didn't, I'm 100% sure at this point for me, then we're not under the grace of God, like we're under the laws of God. I know I've said this many times, and that's why the bad stuff keeps happening to us, and partly, I think, is because the sins of the fathers carry on for 10 generations, and it's so easy to sin, I gotta tell you, if you're under the laws of God, under the law, so the sins of the fathers carry on for 10 generations. So it just keeps happening and happening and happening, and everything keeps getting passed down. In action, he was at 922, and that's 85, and that's silver. And it's also blackout, Boston, which I'm near, get ready, it begins, script, and calm down. Okay, all that matches 85. And Jen Psaki, P-S-A-K-I is how it's spelled. And Junior played Jen Psaki. And if you don't know already, you probably already know because I've talked about it so much, but Joseph Patrick, when he was in Harvard, he was in the Hasty Pudding Club, and he was an actor. That's like, I think it's almost always comedies. I would imagine it's got to be comedies. And if there's women's roles, the men played them. And so I've got a screenshot of something I've got online, and it's him, and he's in one of the reviews, in his costume and everything, and he's in a line, like a chorus line. Yeah, that's what it looks like, a chorus line. I wonder if that's why the play was called the chorus line. Could be. And he's in like little short things, really risque looking, and he's got makeup on and all that, and they've got their self posed, and it's really funny. So he's an actor. He's been an actor before. It just makes sense, right? And the coding all works that he was Jen Psaki. So Junior, because just Patrick got reborn as Junior, and Junior is an actor. Literally, I mean, look how many times, how often he's acting. And he played Jen Psaki, and she had that really high forehead, like her hair started up here somewhere, and it was red. And Joseph Patrick had red hair, and it's just funny. I don't know. And there's something on YouTube you guys would love. If you haven't watched it before, I think you'd really like it. It's called Kingdom, and it's all. I mean, all you have to do is, you don't have to write it down. All you have to do is listen to it, and you'll get it. And it's with wow, gosh, what's his name? I can't think. Oh, I can't remember his name. Look up Kingdom. Maybe I'll think of it before I get done. And it's just like listening to, well, it's a TV series that's not on anymore. But it's just like listening to Simon Stanhope's bite-sized audio. You'll start getting phrases and things, and you'll go, oh my gosh, they really mean this. And oh my gosh, they mean that. And anyway, Kingdom is perfect, and it's on it's got some kind of funny little ad in the front, and I think it's called Dead Parrot. Yeah, Dead Parrot. So that's the only way you can watch it, if you put up with these little ads. So I just mute it when the ad comes on because it's super loud. Just a heads up, like when it starts, mute it, and then once that goes by, and I'm sure Dead Parrot means something. And Monty Python was full of double talking comms and all that. Remember the Dead Parrot episode? The parrot was dead, and they brought it back to the pet store. I think it's how it went. Anyway, enough rambling. Watch Kingdom. You'll love it. I can't remember his name. It's driving me crazy. We've been like binging on it. We watch 2 or 3 at a night. Oh, and it's all about, there's a brother, a long lost brother. I won't tell you the end or anything, but a long lost brother, and his name's Simon. Remember, Simon Stanhope is Junior, and I think JFK taking turns. And anyway, so the brother is Simon. There's so many things like that, and they'll just jump out at you, and you'll be like, "No, you're kidding me." I think you really like it. And it's not like, there's nothing gory and weird. It's just like a little scenarios happening with the lawyer. It's like a law office. And I can't believe I can't remember. Oh, he played Jeeves on Jeeves and Wooster. If you know Jeeves and Wooster, oh, it's him. It's the guy from Jeeves and Wooster. Anyway, I love you guys. Thanks for any donations. My links are down below. And take care of each other. And don't forget, I'm on Truth Social as well as Telegram. And visit me because I haven't got a single like on my Truth Social. I feel so lonely and odd. Take care. Bye, you guys.